Okay. Am I audible to you, everyone?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. We'll start off. Um, so, for today, we are going to be doing the subject verb agreement. There's one more exercise in that on time adverbials. If time permits, which I think we will definitely be able to do that. So, we'll do that as well. Okay. Let me just share the screen with you. I don't think we need a lot of discussion on subject verb agreement since you might have already looked at it. Just give me a moment, I'll share this. Okay, can you see the screen clearly?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so we are going to be looking at subject verb agreement. Nothing to discuss as such about it. I mean, we know what it is, right? Uh, as the name suggests, it's basically the agreement between the subject and the verb of the sentence, and by which we mean that the verb agrees with the subject on three particular features of the subject, which is gender, person, and what's the third one? Number, right? Number, gender, and person. In English, we don't have gender, right? So the verb doesn't, when we say don't have gender, we're referring to the five feature of gender, right? We don't mean there's no gender. Of course, there's masculine and feminine, but the verb doesn't inflect. The verb doesn't change according to the change in the gender of the subject. But it definitely changes based on the person and the number of the subject, right? So the singularity or plurality of the subject involved affects the verb. So definitely it gets inflected for that. And the person or voice in which it happens, right? The first person, second person, basically depending on who the listener is, speaker is, about whom it's been spoken about, the verb can definitely modify according to that, right? Um, yeah, so that's all about English, and this particular feature called agreement, it's a language specific feature, by which I mean that it is different for different languages. In case of English, it is the way that we just discussed, wherein there is no inflection based on gender, but number and person it does, right? There are languages which will show no agreement. The verb will not inflect for anything, right? No matter what the number or the person or the gender is, the verb remains the same. There are languages like that in the world. There are languages which will show inflection for gender, like, for example, Hindi, right? Hindi has a gender inflection on the verb. We're not going to bother about that much. As far as English is concerned, only two markers. One is the person and the second is the number, right? In the exercise we're going to do today, we're basically going to the part here when you're answering questions on subject verb agreement, the part that you need to be more careful about would be the subject then, right? So your identification of the subject and its properties correctly will help you answer the questions properly in next case. Okay, because the inflection on verb is very simple, right? There is nothing much to learn about that. But what can get you wrong answers in this part is your identification of the subject and its properties wrongly, right? So the questions we have here, basically, it's based on what varieties of subjects that you can have in English at least. Okay. So let's look at the first question. Millie and her brothers. Now, before you give me the answer, you tell me what kind of a subject this is, right? Millie and her brothers is or are at school. Before you give me the answer, talk to me about the subject. What do you understand of the subject here? Millie and her brothers. Yes. What is
Here are
distinctive about? Go ahead.
here are two subjects, Millie and her brothers,
Correct.
and
Yeah. So,
we
huh.
using here are.
Yes, we use are here because your subject is a plural subject, or rather, another name for it's a plural subject, obviously, but it's a name for these kind of subjects which has, which are connected using and, right? Millie and her brothers, right? So even it was just her brothers, it would have been are. But Millie and her brothers, this is a special kind of subject. It's a plural subject, but the name is compound subject. Okay, because they're joined together by an and, right? It's a compound subject. Yes, so answer is right. Compound, or you whether you don't know, even if you don't know if this is compound, still we know that this is a plural subject. So the verb needs to be plural. Hence, the answer would be are. Right? Millie and her brothers are at school. Second one, either my mother or my father are coming to the meeting. This is also an important kind of sentence, right? The either or constructions.
Is.
Is. Now, there's nothing to explain in this. The moment you say either or, you're basically making a choice between two things, right? So, depending on what part of the subject, right, is closer to the verb in the sentence, that is going to affect the number of the or the agreement of the subject and the verb involved here, right? So either my mother or my father. My father is the one closer to the verb, which is singular. Hence, your verb is also going to be singular. Either my mother or my father is coming to the meeting, right? Third one, the dog or the cats are outside.
Are.
Now here it's are because why is it are here?
Because the cats are plural.
Yeah, the subject closer to the verb is the cats, which is plural, right? So you need to use a plural verb to form a grammatical construction here. Okay, now for A and B, right? It's A and B because I have just altered the number for the subject there. Okay, you can just answer one of this, that should be fine. Either my shoes or your coat are always on the floor. Either my shoes or your coat are always on the floor.
Is.
Huh.
Is.
Yeah, is. So your coat, right? That's the one closer to the verb, which is singular and hence a singular verb. Either my shoes or your coat is always on the floor. Now you just reverse the situation. Either your coat or my shoes are always on the floor.
Are.
Yeah. Now here, why? Because you shoes, right? Shoes is what is plural. Basically, when you say shoes, you're referring to a pair of shoes. It's understood every time you don't say a pair of shoes, but shoes itself tells you it's a pair you're talking. So either your coat or my shoes are always on the floor. Okay. Now, fifth one, George and Tamara don't want to see that movie. Again, what kind of a subject is this? Joined with
Compound
an and.
subject.
Yeah, this is a compound subject and it's a plural subject. Okay. So what would be the answer?
Does
Don't.
not.
Huh? Don't,
Don't.
right? Don't.
Don't.
Don't is the plural verb here. Okay. George and Tamara don't want to see that movie. Okay. Sixth one. Benito don't know the answer.
Doesn't.
Doesn't.
Doesn't know the answer. Correct. Seventh one, again, a very important kind of subject construction in English. One of my sisters are going on a trip to France.
Is.
Is.
One of my. So the person has many, but it's talking about one among that many, right? So one of my sisters is going on a trip to France. Okay. Then the man with all the birds, eighth one, the man with all the birds lives on my street.
Lives.
Yeah. Now,
Live.
why would this be lives? What is the subject of the sentence?
The man.
The man. Whatever comes after that has got nothing to do with the agreement, right? So this you need to keep in mind. Only the subject agrees with the verb of the sentence, or the verb only requires the agreement with the subject. What follows it, what other additional information, additional segments are added after the subject does not participate in the subject agreement process, right? So here the subject clearly is only the man with all the birds, with everybody else. No, doesn't matter. Whatever interferes between the subject and the verb does not participate in the agreement. Only the subject participates and the verb participates. So the man is singular, hence you have to use the singular verb, which is lives. The man with all the birds lives on my street. Okay. Then the next one would be the movie, including all the previews, take takes about 2 hours to watch.
Takes.
So the movie,
Takes.
including all the previews, takes about 2 hours. So it's a similar kind, right? There's no difference between both of them. Again, here, there are other phrases that are interfering between the verb and the subject, but that doesn't affect the subject verb agreement. Okay. The players as well as the captain wants to win.
Want.
Want.
The players as well as the captain want to win. Okay. 11th one, either answer is are acceptable. Either answer is are acceptable.
Is.
So basically, you're saying either of the answers is acceptable, which can also be written as either answer is acceptable, right? So there are certain constructions in English which shortens the previous one. If you go for a full construction of the sentence would be either of the answers, right? Then you know easily it is. But even if it comes as either answer, it basically means the same. So either answer is acceptable. Every one of those books, 12th one, every one of those books is our fiction.
Is.
Are.
Okay. Every one of those books is or are fiction.
I think are.
Are.
Okay. Why do you think it is are?
Is.
Okay. Why are? For people who are answering are, you can explain to us why it is are. And why is it is? Somebody said is also.
Ma'am,
Because
Ma'am, is
I-
means one of the books meaning might be is, no, ma'am.
Hmm.
ma'am, the
because there
person is
we
using
using
is.
every.
Sorry, come again.
Here we using every.
Hmm.
So we
Ma'am,
use are.
uh, ma'am, the
So
person is.
it
We
should be
use
are.
is. And we use is here because we are
Hmm.
targeting the individual book individually. That's why.
Okay. So others, did you hear that one? We don't use are here because you're talking about every one of those books. We're not saying every, we are talking about all the books, yet we are talking about individual books within that group, right? Your interpretation is right, but it has another nuance to it, right? When you say every one of those books is fiction, you say that every single book sitting on that shelf is a fiction, right? So, although we are talking about all the books there, we are referring to individual books in that set. Okay, in the set you're talking about, your reference is to individual books in that set, which is what every one of those books is fiction. Okay, so be careful about these kind of constructions. Just because you have every, it doesn't mean that it's going to have a plural verb, right? The verb only agrees with the actual subject of the sentence, which is the individual book, right? Not all the books. So it does give you an interpretation about, the all of or plurality of multiple things, which is true. But then the nuanced understanding is that we are referring to every individual, every single unit of the group that we have mentioned. Okay. So every one of those books is fiction. Okay. 13th one, nobody knows the trouble I've seen.
Knows.
Knows, right? Yeah, knows. Not nobody knows not the right answer. Nobody knows the trouble. Again, here the reference is to individuals. Like when I say nobody, of course, there is an interpretation of plurality. But again, what I'm trying to say is that not a single person, right? Not a single person. So nobody knows the trouble I have seen. Okay. 14th one.
So, ma'am,
Yeah.
ma'am. So
Yes.
there are some subjects which sound like plurality, but they are singular, right?
Yeah, not sound like plurality. They have interpretations of plurality, but then within that again you need to go a little more deep. You should understand that we are referring to individual or singular units of the group that is being mentioned, right? If that is the interpretation from the subject that you have, then it means it has to take a singular verb. Okay.
Okay.
Huh. Right, 14th one. Is are the news at 5 or 6?
Is.
Is.
Is the news
Is.
at 5 or 6? Right now we are dealing with some expressions in the language which looks like they are plural, but in fact they are singular. Right, so it might give you an impression that this is a plural, right? But then this is not, right? Okay, so next one again, the same kind. Mathematics is our John's favorite subject, while civics is our Andrea's favorite subject. So mathematics,
Both is.
ah,
Is.
Is.
mathematics is right, and civics also is right. So again, similar to the other one. 16th one, $8 is the price of a movie these days.
Is.
Is.
Ah, is right. $8 is the price of a movie these days. Now, what is the reason for using a singular verb here? If suppose I have a sentence like, you know, there
And we are talking about the movie here.
we are
Maybe
talking about the
price of the movie of a
we're
single
talking about
movie.
the price of the movie. Yes. Okay. There. What is this? Eight, right? Eight. Okay. So this one. Okay. The first sentence
Then
versus the
here
second one. There
here it
are.
will be R.
There are.
R.
So there are $8 in my pocket. Right now, here, why do we use are? Because you are talking
Because
about
we are talking about multiple dollars.
$8. You're talking about the total amount of, yes, absolutely. The total amount of money that you have, right? And if it is, of course, obviously like more in number, then it's going to have a plural interpretation. In the sentence, previous sentence that you had, the first sentence you see here, it's $8. $8 is basically referring to the cost. Okay, the price or the cost of the movie ticket. Hence, you don't have to consider this as something that amounts okay, plurality there. It's just simply, you're giving the actual price or the cost of the movie ticket. Hence, it does not give you a plural interpretation. That is what is more important. Okay. So $8 is the price of a movie these days. Okay. Right. Now, is are 17th one. Is are the tweezers in this drawer?
Tweezers. R. R.
Huh? Is or are?
R.
Are.
R.
Are the tweezers in this drawer? Yes. Correct. Right. Again, similar kind of constructions or entities which have only plural interpretation, right? So you check out the difference between these. You have news, mathematics, civics, $8, right? $8 particularly only in that given context, right? When it's usually used as a name, as to refer to the cost or something. They all have been used with a singular verb interpretation, right? But tweezers, pans, scissors, right? Another example would be that all of these are they're all inherently plural in nature, because how do you actually say the sentence? If you want to expand the 17th sentence, a little bit expansion, if it is required on your side, how are you going to write that? Rewrite it. Are the
Are the tweezers present in the drawer?
No, on the tweezers, you can say something, right? Are the pair of tweezers in this drawer, right? Are the pair of
And what
pans,
are tweezers exactly? I
sorry,
don't know. What are tweezers?
you don't know
What
what a
are
tweezer,
tweezers?
huh? Okay, what a tweezer? It's an instrument, no? It's used for plucking out hair. Okay, you
Okay.
see people using it to thread their eyebrows, right? That's called a tweezer. Okay, or it's also used to like pick out small things, from very small objects, very tiny, very spot-like objects. We used to remove that. Okay, so are the tweezers? So basically, it comes in a pair like a scissors. So are the pair of tweezers in this drawer? Similarly, for 18th one, it's pants, written as pants, but we're talking about a pair of pants, right? That's uh, the actual word is a pair of pants. So, of course, there's a plural interpretation. You're going to use plural verb here, okay? Are the tweezers in this drawer? Your pants, again, would be are at the cleaners, right? Your pants are at the cleaners. Okay. 19th one, there was or were 15 candies in that bag.
Were.
There
Were.
were. There were 15 candies in that bag. It's countable, right? Now there dash only one left.
There is.
Is.
Now there is only one left. Okay. The next one would be the committee debates these questions carefully. The committee debates.
Debates.
The committee is what kind of a subject is the committee?
Plural subject.
Sorry,
Plural subject.
plural subject. Okay, then why are we using singular verb for that?
Debate.
It's not a plural subject. So when you say plural subject, you're giving me grammatical interpretation, right? So when you look at sentences, whether it's English or any other language, you need to also look at what, other, what exactly the word would mean in the real world expression. So yes, committee is a plural thing, right? It's basically whenever you say committee, you're referring to a group of people, right? Who are appointed to do something specific, some to fulfill some kind of a specific task. So we know that there are, more number of people involved in that particular group. You cannot call, one person a committee, right? It needs to have several people. But then you're treating that group as a whole, right? As a singular unit. So committee is that kind of a noun in English, right? Where you treat that one group as a whole, right? One single whole, which is why it has a singular interpretation, right? So the committee, then because of the singular interpretation of the committee as a body, you would use the singular verb for subject verb agreement. That's a committee debates these questions carefully. Now look at 21st one. The committee members lead very different lives in private.
Lead.
Lead.
So now what has changed? Now the reference is to the committee members. Now it has become plural. We're not saying the committee. We are referring to the committee members, all of them. Right? Now it has become plural. So the verb has also changed to the plural forms. The committee members lead very different lives in private. 22nd one, the Prime Minister, together with his wife, greets
Greets.
the press. Sorry,
Greet.
what's the answer?
Greets.
Greets.
Greets, right? Greets. Now, why are we saying, phrases like as well as and together and all that? It can give you a meaning that, we are talking about two people, right? So when I say the Prime Minister together with his wife, people could say that, okay, weren't two people involved in this action? Right. So couldn't the subject be plural? Why are we saying it is singular? The check here is that you remove that particular part, right? Together with his wife. This is an additional phrase. I can remove that out and say the Prime Minister greets the press cordially, right? So what would be the answer then? The Prime Minister greets the press cordially. The point here is what is the actual subject of the sentence, right? The actual subject of the sentence is only the Prime Minister. Whatever follows, it is basically an additional part, which if removed from the sentence is not going to affect the sentence grammatically, right? But that is not the case if I add and here. If I say the Prime Minister and his wife, then what would be
Greet.
the answer? Yeah.
Great.
Then it
Greet.
is becoming, then it becomes a plural subject, the Prime Minister and his wife. By adding and, I am compounding the subject. I'm adding the other entity, other person also to the action is given here. So then it changes to plural. Okay. Right. Now, the last one here, 23rd one is all of the CDs, even the scratched one, are in this case.
Are.
Are.
Right? All of the CDs, that is your subject. So obviously are, right? Because plural subject, plural verb. All of the CDs are Even the scratched one are in this case. Okay. All right. Now we're going to look at, something that is called distributive pronoun in English, right? Um, they behave a little differently from others. We'll see how it does. So I'm not going to tell you how it acts, but we're going to look at the questions here and then we'll try and see what we can conclude from that, right? So you should understand what now I mean by distributive pronoun, right? So all of these examples like each and everyone, everybody, nobody, somebody, right? All of those. Some of them are also, some among them are classified as definite, indefinite, but put together we can call them the distributive pronoun, right? Pronouns. So let's look at the first question then. Where did everyone goes this afternoon?
Go.
Go.
Where did everyone
Go.
Go
go?
this afternoon.
Where did everyone go this afternoon? Right? Where did everyone go this afternoon? Okay. Second one. Sometimes it feels like everyone on social media are having more fun than us.
Are.
Are.
Is.
Are.
Is
Okay.
have.
Sometimes it feels like everyone on social media are having more fun than us. So is or are?
Are.
Is.
Okay. Right.
Is.
So answer is, right? Sometimes it feels, right? Sometimes it feels like everyone on social media is having more fun than us. Why is it not are?
And because we are targeting every single social media user.
Hmm. You are talking about every single person who uses social media, right? Sometimes it feels like everyone on social media are having more fun. Basically, your reference is to everybody who uses, right? Every single person. So similar to the one that we are discussing, the reference is to individual people. Although we are talking about, the users as a whole, but the interpretation or the judgment or opinion, whatever this is, it is basically meant to refer to every single user, right? Every single user, right? Which is why is everyone on social media is having more fun than us. Okay. So third one, can you believe that every one of our tires, okay, are flat today?
Are.
Are.
Every one of her tires uh,
No, ma'am,
is
it will
or
be
Is.
are.
is.
Every one
Every
of
one
us
of
are
her
tired.
tires is flat today. Again, what are we doing? Yes, I know. You're like, if all the tires are flat, then why are we saying this? But all is different. When you say all the tires, then you will have to say it are flat. All the tires of her car are flat. But when you're saying every one of her car tires, again, the reference is to each of the tires, like each of the single tires, which is why is again, right? Can you believe that every one of her car tires is flat today? Right? Okay.
Yes,
Now,
ma'am.
next one. Yeah, any question?
No, ma'am.
Okay. E- Each and every one of the stars in the sky has emitted light for millions of years.
Have.
Hmm. Each and every one of the stars in the sky
Have.
has. Each and every one of the stars in the sky has, right? Again, singular interpretation. You're saying each and every one of the stars in the sky, right? Has emitted light for millions of years. Has, singular noun, singular verb. Okay. Fifth one, every one of my Google searches mention how everyone is or are obsessed with the new actor.
Mentions.
Mention.
Okay, mentions. Every one of my Google searches mention
Mention then is.
mentions. Every one of my Google searches mentions how everyone. The second one is or are.
Is.
Is.
Ah,
Is.
how everyone is obsessed with the new actor. Okay, right. Sixth one, everybody
Knows.
know the truth. Yeah, everybody knows the truth. Everybody knows the truth. Seventh one, at night with the lights shining on the water, everything look different.
Looks.
Looks.
Everything looks different. I couldn't get a seat. Everywhere were so crowded.
Was.
Ah, everywhere was so crowded, right? Everywhere was so crowded. Next thing, she knows everybody in the room.
Knows.
Knows.
She
Knows.
knows everybody in the room. Okay. Now here, has everybody got to do anything with the sentence here? What is the
No, ma'am.
subject? No. Yeah, the subject here is she, which is third person singular. So the verb is taking after the third person singular subject, which is she. Here, everybody has no contribution to selection of the verb. In this case, it's not in the subject noun part. 10th one, his name was Henry, but everyone calls him Harry.
Calls.
Calls.
Calls him Harry, right? So what did you see here? For the distributive adjectives in general, which includes, words like everyone, everybody, right? Everywhere, everything, everyone of, each and every one of. What else did we have? The previous one? Everyone, right? Everyone. So all of these are examples of what you refer to as distributives. Okay, distributive. What do you understand by this one? Distributive pronoun. This is not there in the lecture, but these questions are a part of the subject verb agreement. So should understand like I told you, when you're looking at subject verb agreement, you need to have a very profound understanding of what subjects are and what kind of subjects are used in the English sentence construction, right? So what do we mean by distributive pronouns? They are a type, a class of pronouns. We call them distributive because they're used to refer to more than one noun or one person, an object or event separately, but not in a particular group or body, right? Whenever you use these terms, the reference is basically to more than one, okay, more than one entity, which is a part of that group, but separately. Okay, did you understand what I mean by that particular phrase? Each and every, that refer to more
Yes,
than
ma'am.
one, refer to more than one of the entity, but separately. Okay, this is what is special about the distributive. We call it distributive because of that. It's distributed across individual units or single units in the group. Reference is always towards it, right? Which is why most of the times or almost all the times, when you talk about subject verb agreement, and if the subject is one of these distributive pronouns, then the verb has to be singular because the reference is to separate or individual units of a group. Okay. So that's the reason behind why you use singular verbs, although it looks like, we're talking about a group of things or a whole bunch of things. Okay. So be aware of this one. So this is also an important part when it comes to subject verb agreement. Okay. Then, okay, so all actually, in case you're wondering, even examples like either or and neither nor, they're all part of these distributive numeral. Okay, so uh, everyone, everybody, everything, everywhere, each and every one of, everyone, either or, neither nor, they all belong to this category called the distributive pronoun. Okay, right. So, any questions from this part? Any questions in general on the subject verb agreement or about anything specific? No?
No, ma'am.
Okay, all right. Then we'll do one thing. We'll move on to this is not exactly related to subject verb agreement, but I found this on one of the worksheets, and I thought maybe a quick revision of this should also be fine. And mostly also because this is a short topic. So we still have some more time left. So for another, 5-10 minutes, not 10 minutes, maybe another 5 minutes or so, we can go through this one, like tense and time adverbials. Right? Why do we call it time adverbials? So what do you understand by time adverbials? Adverbials,
Because it,
right? From phrasal verbs, you can understand what it is. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
because it talks about time and
Huh. So, like we discussed in the last class, you're right. It talks about time. So, adverbials, they perform the function of adverbs, right? And one of the function of the adverbs is also to talk to you about time, right? It shows you, or it can give you information on time, place, manners, reason, purpose, um, frequency, right? Many more things like that. So one among that is also to show time.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Sorry.
Ma'am, I have a query. Um, when I try to access the PDFs of sessions on calendar, it does not giving access to me English PDFs.
On calendar,
Yes, ma'am, the docx file.
calendar won't have any PDFs as such. That you will have to access from the dashboard.
Okay, ma'am.
Yeah. Okay. So, right. So, adverbials of time, what are they? They basically, or time adverbials, like you can call them whatever you want. They tell you about, they can tell you a few things. Okay, about when. Mostly it's about when, or it can also tell you how long or how often, right? Which means how long in the sense it tells you the duration, and how often is basically frequency. All of them are clubbed together as time adverbials, right? Now, in English, tense and time adverbials work together because we know English can show you tense in the form of inflections on the verb, but an additional category that English uses to talk about time are these time adverbials. Right? Can you give me examples of few time adverbials? Time adverbials.
No.
Let's just to begin with before, after, right?
soon,
So what is it?
Now.
Sorry.
soon,
Soon. Yes, soon. Soon, now, before, after, tomorrow, today, in the morning, for hours together. These are all examples of adverbials. So when I say adverbials, it could be single words like, before, after, never, or seldom, right? It can be singular words. Like, you can look at see your chat box, right? Before, after, never, seldom. It can be singular words like this, or it can also be something like, a phrase, right? In the morning, right? For hours together, right? Or, something like last evening, okay? Previous evening, let's put it that way, previous evening. Or sometimes it can be a clause also. So whatever it is, if it tells you about time, then you call it a time adverbial. So time adverbials are used in the languages in addition to the tense, right? As in, sometimes you can use time adverbials in place. Some sentences may not be able to show you tense properly. Like, for example, when we were discussing modal verbs, I told you that modal verbs cannot show time, right? They cannot inflect for tense like your other verbs. So when you're using a modal verb in a sentence, if you are required to show the time of the action, then you will have to use the time adverbial, right? Because it is incapable of showing any time by itself. It cannot inflect for tense. So to show tense in a sentence which has modal verb, if you mean to, right? Every time it's not required, but if you mean to show tense, say for example, if you have to show ability in the past, okay, possibility in the past, then we know could or cannot show that because they're modal verbs. So in order to show this ability in past and possibility in past, you will have to employ some other segment. And those segments are called these time adverbials. Okay. That's all. It's a very simple thing, not at all complicated. Let's quickly look at this one, tense and time adverbials. You have just about 4 sentences, right? This is not meant for an actual practice, though. I just included it so that we can, have a look at what these tense and time adverbials are. Okay. So complete the following sentences using appropriate tense forms and adverbials. The first one, can you take a quick look at it? Now, don't try to fill in the blanks right away. Just read the whole of that sentence and then you can fill it one by one. Okay. So what would be the first blank then?
Took.
Took.
David took this book yesterday from the library. What is the time adverbial in this sentence?
Yesterday.
Yesterday.
This one, right? This part is your time adverbial. Second one, his brother dash read it now.
Read.
Sorry? What's
Is
the answer?
reading.
Is reading. His brother is reading it now. Okay. His brother is reading it now.
Read.
Sorry?
It will be read, right? His brother read
His
it
brother
down.
read it now. No. If it is now, then it cannot be past, right?
Yes,
His
ma'am.
brother read it now. Now is not an adverbial that supports past. So is reading it now. Okay. But you can even say reads it now. But contextually, is reading is more appropriate here. Okay. So again, now is what? It is your time adverbial, right? In fact, time adverbials are more prominently, they can show the exact time more prominently, right, than the other tense forms. Tense forms can be sometimes a little confusing, but you can't get confused between yesterday, now, tomorrow, and all that, right? Okay. He dash return it tomorrow.
Returned.
Will return.
He will return.
Will return.
Will
It's
return.
tomorrow, the future action will return. He will return it tomorrow, right? Now, the last one, he dash borrow books from the library for the last few years.
He was
Has
borrowing.
been borrowing.
He was
He
borrowing.
had borrowed. He had.
He had
He
borrowed
has
books from the
been
library.
borrowing.
He has been borrowing books from the library for the last few years, right? Continuing action. He has been borrowing books, or say, in other sense, you can say like he has borrowed books from the library for the last few years, right? So between continuous and perfect, you can choose depending on the context. Both would be okay since it doesn't mention anything else. He's borrowed books from the library for the last years. He's been borrowing books from the library for the last few years. Again, simple continuous form cannot be used. What it indicates is that there needs to be a perfective form associated. Either you say he has borrowed or has been borrowing. Both will have perfective form. Okay, for the last few years. Okay, now here, what is your adverbial? This part. For the last few years. This is your time adverbial. Okay, now second one. Can we do that? We dash moved to Mumbai when I dash P6, I dash 28 now, and dash to in the society. Yeah.
We were, ma'am.
Moved
We,
and then was
we moved to Mumbai when I was
I-
6.
6.
We moved to Mumbai when I was 6, and then I dash
But ma'am,
28
there
I
is
now.
am
written
28 now.
I am 28 now.
We live
I
in the
am
same
28 now, right? I am 28 now. So we moved to Mumbai when I was 6. I am 28 now. So now is again your time adverbial, right? We dash live in the city for 22 years.
We lived.
Is it just
We
lived?
We will live.
Have
We
been
will live
living.
in the city. We have lived. We have lived in the city for 22 years. See this for, whenever you have for here, right? This is your time adverbial in this case, right? For is usually used along with perfective forms. So we can say we have been living in the city for 22 years, or you can also say we have lived in the city for 22 years. Okay. So remember, the moment you have this for in the time adverbial part, you know that we are talking about a perfective form. Okay. Now today I dash reached the railway station a little late. My friend dash be waiting there for me. He dash say that he dash wait for me for half an hour.
Today I reached.
Today I reached,
Reached.
right? Reached, right? So today is also an expression of time adverb. Today I reached station, railway station a little late, right? Reached. My friend dash be waiting there for me.
Was.
Will
My friend was waiting there for me, correct? He dash say that he dash wait for me for half an hour.
He said.
He said that
will
Will.
wait.
he waited for me for half an hour. No, that
He
uh,
will wait.
he
He
said that
had been waiting for me.
he said that he have been waiting for me for half an hour, right? Again, you see this one for me for half an hour period of time. So he said that he has been waiting for me for half an hour, or he has waited for me for half an hour. Okay. But here I think given the context, the continuous form fits better, right? He has been waiting for me for half an hour. Okay. Last one here. Fourth, we have no house of our own and we dash to build one. Last month we dash buy a plot of land. The construction of the house dash not begin yet. We dash start work next month.
We want to build one.
We
Hmm.
wanted.
We have no house for our own and
Want.
Wanted it.
we wanted to build one. Okay. Last month we dash
We
a
brought.
plot of land.
we bought.
Yeah.
Bought a plot.
Okay. We bought a plot of land, correct? The construction of the house dash yet.
Has
Has
not
Has
begun.
not
not begun.
begun.
Has not begun yet.
Begun.
So yet is another time adverbial which is used with perfective form and particularly the present perfect form. So the construction of the house has not begun yet. Okay. We dash start work next month.
We will
We
start.
will.
Will start.
Yes, we will start the work next month. So here next month again is a time adverb. Okay. So most of the sentences, which means they are going to have a combination of both the time adverbial as well as the tense markers, right? In cases where tense marking is difficult or the verb is unable to show you the actual tense, we use time adverbials for more clarity of the time that the action has taken place. Okay, that's all. This is very simple to work on. Okay, so if you have questions, you may ask them. We have about 10 more minutes. If not, then we can stop a little early today. No problem. Any
Ma'am,
questions?
can we write we shall start work from next month?
We shall start. But you can. You can.
And can you explain the meaning of seldom?
Which one? Sorry.
Seldom.
Seldom. Seldom means very rarely. Very rarely. Okay, something that doesn't happen that often. So it's the opposite of often. Often and seldom.
And
Ma'am, what is the quiz to syllabus, ma'am?
I think up to week 8.
1 to 8, ma'am?
Yeah, I mean, mostly 5 to 8, but you might have like some of the questions from, I think, 1 to 4. Week 5 to 8 would be the focus.
Okay, ma'am.
Right. That's all.
Ma'am, can you tell
Huh.
the exact difference between under and beneath?
Under and beneath. Okay.
Yes.
Under would be, as literal as it can get, under the table, right? Which means it is observable. You can see it. And when you say something is beneath something, it's not necessary that, it's really, visible or anything, but you know that this exists, right? Like you can say beneath the layers. You don't say under the layers, right? Or in other words, under is something that is immediately below the thing that you mentioned. If I say under the table, then I'm talking about something that is right under. Some people also use the expression right under, which basically means that it's immediately below the thing mentioned. Beneath, it needn't be, immediately below the surface of whatever you're talking about. It could be, somewhere inside also, which means there's a concept of layer that comes in the usage of beneath, right? In under, we don't have that. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Ma'am, this vowel sounds, consonant sounds, and all. Where can we actually practice, ma'am? Any Google sites or something like to get comfortable with it?
You can use this app called Sounds Right. Okay. I'll just leave the name of that in the chat. It's an app. It's a free thing by BBC. You can download it, and basically this is an app meant for ear training. It just has these sounds. So you click on each of those blocks there, and it just repeats to you what the sound is, and it also gives you like a sample word which consists of this vowel sound or consonant, all of them. Try using this app. It should help you understand what exactly, or train your ears to understand the sounds. You can use that.
Actually, you mentioned it previously in some lecture, I think, ma'am. The
Yes,
starting
I
you
did.
told
In
us,
the very
I
beginning.
downloaded it, but I think it requires frequent practice, ma'am. We listen to it, but I'm not like very confident that I know everything. Like it's like okay,
Right.
only every time I try.
It takes time. These kind of things takes a little time. Doesn't come that easily to us, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So you can practice a little more, or until you think you are confident to deal with it, right? So every 10% is not a possible thing, but you can try and improve as much as possible. Try and do some comparison exercises. The only method to wrap your head around the sounds of the language is to try and you would be, there would be a few words that you're absolutely sure about, right? So you
Yes,
have
ma'am.
those words in comparison to the words that you get in the questions, or the ones that you're using to practice. Have a comparison between these two and try and understand how it works. And that's the only way. Even for long and short vowels, this is the way you should be practicing, right? Comparison is how you do the sound identification, particularly if you're looking at the long, short counterparts.
Actually, we know more some familiar words, ma'am. If suddenly we see a new word, no, it like sometimes confuses.
Yes. Yeah. Lack of familiarity with the word is a problem. I understand. Actually, initially we were allowed to use the audio clips, but now they've changed some format and it's not allowed anymore. So a lot of questions based on sound identification used to be based on the audio clips. So again, there were difficulty. There were people who would not understand it, and there were people who were able to do such exercises better with the audio. But yes, of course, we need to also agree to the formats prescribed to us. So right now, it is now solely dependent on your identification of sounds based on your familiarity, your reading, everything else.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Right, sounds right. Beneath will refer like, yes. Beneath is, yeah, just what I told her, no? That includes the idea of layering. So it doesn't mean that it's immediately, under the surface that you're referring to. It could be something that is within the layers also. Okay. No other question?
No, ma'am.
Ma'am,
Okay.
ma'am, from where I have to read about the antonyms for exams?
There is no particular place that you can, you can just go online and do that. No, it's easy. Just use the internet for that. You don't have to follow any, there's no book as such. There could be books, but then it's not like I know the name of those books. There could be many available, but you don't have to do that. You have internet, a very cheap source, right? Just go over internet and try and find out.
Okay, ma'am.
If you're looking for a list, although things like this, they shouldn't be learned like that, but for your, for the sake of the exam, maybe just use the internet sources. So, okay. All right then. We'll meet again next week, right? I think I need to start a little bit on collocation next week. Right? Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
All right.
Thank you,
Thank
ma'am.
you. See you
Thank you,
again.
ma'am.
Thank you,
Thank you,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Okay. See you.